Islamic State stretching from China into the Middle East.
After more than 20 years on the streets of Britain, Anjem Choudary is behind bars. The maximum sentence was 10 years for inviting support for ISIS. The radical preacher got 5.5.
That is the Islamic solution.
The judge, Mr. Justice Holroyd, told Anjem Choudary that he was a dangerous, calculating influence whose words were like gold on Twitter. You, he said, indirectly encouraged violent terrorist activity. But the combined efforts of the intelligence services and the police could never definitively link the former lawyer to even one terrorist incident at home or abroad. This was Anjem Choudary in Norway 4 years ago, surrounded by members of an al-Mujahideen-style group called the Prophet's Ummah. Many in the lineup have gone to Syria. Among them, Reza, on the far left, is an alleged ISIS executioner. Omar Chabail, just to the left of Choudary, was killed in Mosul last year. And to the right, Danish jihadi Abu Musa, also killed in Syria, and the same with Norwegians Hisham Ahmed and Egson Avdaili.
What's interesting about it is that many of the people there, half the people in the photo either went to Syria, been killed in Syria, but you know, they were the kind of leaders of all these different organisations, and I think it reflects his importance across Europe.
Islam is the fastest growing ideology and religion in the world today.
Chowdary's relentless publicity drive drew the crowds, but made it easier to monitor, easier to gather intelligence, easier to target. Now he's gone, his acolytes are disappearing from the streets. Instead, his conviction simply moves his recruiting grounds to prisons, where many of his followers have done or are doing time. Former cage fighter Usman Raja has come across many of them. His role is to unpick the elements of their extremism, in other words, to de-radicalise.
With all of this, it's a case of you're there for as long as it takes, because this isn't a quick fix.
He says his successors include Abu Mansha, convicted of plotting to kill a British soldier, Andrew Rowe, a convert jailed for planning attacks, and Jordan Horner, found guilty of enforcing extremist values on the streets of London. What is the antidote to Anjem Chowdary's poison, then?
The antidote to the phenomenon is that we need to get a correct understanding out there, because the issue is that there's an identity, a faith identity that's been hijacked.
The sentencing of Anjem Choudary has triggered a new prison's anti-radicalisation strategy of isolation. It's very likely that he will be located on wings occupied by lifers and those who spent years behind bars, and where his message will fall on deaf ears.
The country is a bit safer. All the evil that they have been sowing, all their evil words and the dissent they've tried to sow throughout society is over. They are paying the price and they are going to jail.
But the self-declared Islamist scholar could be out in just 2 years. He will then be under a 15-year notification period where the authorities can impose controls like bans on protests, meetings and speeches online. 9 of Chowdary's supporters chanted Allah Akbar as they watched their leader leave the dock. His imprisonment may end one threat of radicalisation, but the internet now poses so many more.